So we're out doing a little bit of inspection in the garden this evening and checking out our tomatoes, looking to see if anything was ripened. And we started noticing leaves that are looking kind of sad. And some browning here, lots of holes. Even one here that pretty much all the interior of the leaves are gone. So let's take a look at what's happening. So at first glance, we've got, the brown lesions on this leaf. And then we go to this one, we see that those brown areas are falling out. And then it escalates to where we have nothing left. So further inspection, we started seeing a little bit of holes in some of the other leaves. We're seeing what looks kind of like dirt on the leaves here. What we have here is we have armyworms. So we've got this basically colony of worms that are attacking the foliage on this plant. And they're doing some pretty extensive damage. This was not like this the other day. It means they were here and they were doing work. And all that little debris we're seeing is most likely droppings from these little caterpillars or worms. So typically once we start seeing damage like this, and just by a quick glance, we don't see any type of insect. And that's because worms are oftentimes on the underside of leaves. They're going to be in places where they're hidden away from the hot sun, because they'll dry out. If you think about earthworms or night crawlers going across the sidewalk during the day, they typically don't make it to the other side. So worms are oftentimes going to feed on plants in cooler temperatures, which here in Southeast Texas is going to be late evening into the night. There are some worms that you can find out in the day, like tomato hornworms, and even these little armyworms, you typically can find them during the day. And because they're so small, they're on the underside of the leaf, they're very well camouflaged and hidden from the sun. So as we can see, this is pretty extensive damage. These plants are still putting on fruit and none have ripened yet. So we've got to do something about this. So I realized that unlike a lot of other worms, I found some big worms on this particular plant already, and we've picked those off and we've disposed of them. But these guys, it's going to be very difficult to ensure that I get all of these. So this is one of the very few times that we are going to resort to spraying something because we need the foliage on these plants. We don't need all of it, but we want to keep these plants growing and setting fruit for as long as possible. We're going to be spraying a caterpillar killer spray, this particular one by Fertilome, which uses BT. I'm not going to try to butcher the actual ingredient name here as I always do, but this is an organic insecticide. It's a bacterium which disrupts the life of a worm or caterpillar. And we're going to actually spray this on the foliage, and as the worm or caterpillar feeds as normal, they're going to digest this ingredient, and it's going to basically cause their gut to rupture, and then they will die. So you can typically spray this up until the day of harvest, and then you can pick the next day and then wash your produce. Again, even though this isn't organic, doesn't mean we got a free pass. We only use this if there is no other option. Pest control and any kind of pest management practice should always be a last resort. Now, this stuff does not smell great, but neither do a lot of the fertilizers we use in the garden, and that's just part of it. I'm not going to spray the whole plant because I don't believe that they're all over the plant. We're going to spray a good portion of it where we see most of the damage or where we've seen signs. I'm going to spray a little bit of this adjacent plant because it is almost touching. And there you have it. As a last resort, we've utilized the safest option that we can to take care of this particular issue, which is causing some severe damage to our plant. And if we don't do anything else about it, it's just going to get worse. So we've kind of gone through all of the pros, cons to determine whether we should spray. If this was like really late in the season and we had already gotten most of our production off of these plants and we were seeing this type of pest pressure, honestly, I would probably just leave it alone and let the fruit continue to ripen, pick what I can, and then when we're stop setting new fruit, we'll move on, remove the plant, and get ready for something that can handle the hot summer. Now, BT, because the worm actually has to consume it, we need to make sure that if we get rain or we have water over the top and it washes it off, we're going to have to reapply. We're going to continue to monitor these plants to see if the damage continues, and we'll do some inspections to also ensure whether or not the pest is going away. And then we'll spray again if we need to, but only if we have to. So stay tuned. We'll keep you updated on how these plants fare, because I got a lot of tomatoes on them, and we are looking forward to the harvest. See you next time.